I've been a full-time trader with a prop trading firm for just over a year now. It's going into my 16th month, kind of long, I guess. But I know a lot of you guys are interested in trading as well, whether as a full-time job or just doing it part-time alongside your main job. So, a few weeks ago, I asked you guys on my Instagram story to ask me any questions you had about trading, and in today's video, I will be answering those questions. The first few questions will be more about how to get started with trading, and then after that, I'll answer your more general trading questions, I guess. But some of you guys had really interesting questions, so let's get to it. First question, this one is by far the most popular one, and you guys are asking me, how did I land a job as a full-time trader, and how could you guys do it too? Honestly, it's not easy. Prior to becoming a full-time trader, I had no idea about how to enter this industry. I thought it would never happen, so my plan was to just figure out trading on my own and hopefully one day in the future, go full-time. So the way I did it eventually was I joined this program called FTAP, and until today, this is still the only way I know how Malaysians can get into the trading space. I don't know any other ways. Maybe you guys know, let me know down in the comments below. But anyway, FTAP is the Futures Trading Apprenticeship Program. This is organized by Bursa Malaysia Derivatives in collaboration with the Capital Markets Development Fund. So what happened was I joined their first batch back in November of 2023. It was a 2-week program in Bursa Malaysia's HQ right here in KL. So I attended that. And then after the program completed, the trading firm that was doing the training offered me the opportunity to join their firm. And of course, I took it. The good news is Bursa Malaysia already announced the details for the 4th intake of FTAP. So if any of you guys are interested in trading, or if any of you guys want to become full-time traders, then trust me, this is your best chance. I highly encourage you guys to apply. The applications are already open right now. The last day to apply will be the 13th of April 2025. So if you guys are interested, I'll leave the link to apply down in the description of this video. If you're watching this after the 13th of April, don't worry, just keep your eyes peeled because I heard from a little bird there might be more intakes this year. Next question that also a lot of you guys ask me is, how can you trade part-time when you have a full-time job? Now, I know that not everyone dreams of becoming a full-time trader like myself. I had this dream, but I know most people, realistically, they just want to trade part-time to make some extra money while they still have a full-time job with a stable income. And I think this is the best approach for most people. Trying to become a full-time trader has, its own set of challenges. It's a whole different ball game. And as a part-time trader, you can still make quite a lot of money. I know some people who do. Having said that, it's not that part-time trading is going to be easier. You still have to put in a lot of time. You still have to put in a lot of effort, especially when you're just starting out. You need to do things like figuring out your strategy, refining your execution, and even once you've gotten good, even the experienced traders with years of experience, they still spend time, looking at what's happening in the market, staying in tune because markets will change. Having said that, my favorite way to trade back when I was doing it part-time as well with a full-time job was to swing trade. So for those of you guys who don't know, swing trading is when you hold the position for a bit of a longer period, maybe a few days, a few weeks, sometimes maybe even a few months. To me, this was the only method that would have worked for me because back in my old job, I actually had to work, unfortunately, so I didn't have a lot of time. And swing trading, it doesn't require as much screen time. Basically, what we have to do is, I just used to do my research, my charting, whenever I was free, maybe sometimes when I was at office, during my lunch breaks, or maybe most of the times when I'm back home, in the evenings and at night, I would just do my charting, place my orders, and then wait for the orders to hit. Of course, the more time that you can spend trading, the better it will be, the faster you will learn. But I would say someone who's doing it part-time, it's a bit more difficult for you to be, a day trader or scalper because it really requires a lot of focus, a lot of attention, and, a lot of screen time. I'm not saying it's impossible. It is. I know some people who are doing it part-time and they're day trading, 30 minutes at night. It's just, to me at least, a bit more difficult. Final question that I'll be answering on getting started with trading. So you guys are asking me, how much money do you need to start? So I'm going to burst your bubbles here. I'm sorry, but your dream of turning 1,000 ringgit into 100,000 ringgit, it's nearly impossible. I'm not saying it's impossible, I'm just saying very, very unlikely. So the truth is, if you want to be serious about trading, especially if this is your main source of income, then you will need a well-stacked account. So personally, I would say anywhere between 30 to 50,000 ringgit for serious traders, like I said. But obviously, the more money you put in there, the better it will be for you. Having said that, I don't want to discourage you guys because I know not everyone has 50k to just throw in a trading account right now. So if you only have 10,000 ringgit, you can still start. But you just got to be realistic with how much money you can make. If you're thinking, I'm going to put 5,000 ringgit into my trading account today, end of 2025, it's going to be 100,000 ringgit, then yeah, teach me because it's super unlikely. What I would say is that you can consider this as your training period when you're figuring out your strategy, figuring out what works for you. At least you're doing it with a small account, right? In fact, I would say most beginners should start with a small account so that if you make mistakes, at least you're not losing that much money. But yeah, even if you have only 5K, just put it into your trading account, learn how to trade, figure it out, and while you save more money to have a bigger account, you figure out your strategy so that by the time you have that cash ready to go, you would be, hopefully at least consistently profitable. Now, let's get to the more general trading related questions. And some of you guys are asking me, what profits should you be aiming for by the end of the month? Profit targets by day, by week, by month, how's it like? So, I'm gonna give you guys a boring answer because I personally do not set myself any profit targets. So I know some people at my firm, they do have a monthly or quarterly target, but personally, it's not really my style. I don't really like to do it. The reason for that is markets change. Sometimes, the markets are extremely volatile, which for a trader like me is good because there are a lot of opportunities, but other times the market is just extremely slow, extremely quiet. And the thing is, there's nothing I can do about it. I cannot move the market on my own. I rely on what's happening right now. And the problem with setting something like a weekly target is, let's say I say every single week I need to make 2% profits. What if during that week there's just nothing happening? I just have no opportunities. If I still try and hit my target of 2% profits, then I will force the trade. Maybe it's not the best setup, but I just take it anyway. Hopefully it lets me hit my target. And most of the times it will turn out bad. So that's why I'd rather not set myself targets. So instead, what I do is I focus on my execution. So instead of having a report card where I say, this is the percentage profit that I need to make, I sort of set it as like, am I executing my trades well? So to give you guys a bit more explanation, let's say when times are good, when everything is going well for me, what I would think of is, should I have held my position longer? Did I take profits too early? Was I too much of a paper hand? Or maybe my position sizing was too small. Maybe I should have went bigger and gotten more profits. And then when times are bad, when things just aren't working out, which these times will happen, I think, did I manage my risk well? Did I lose a bit too much money? These kind of things is what I look at. So as long as I tick off these boxes, to me, it's fine because I always try and focus on my process rather than the outcome. I'm not too fixated on the percentage profits. Obviously, obviously that's a lie. Obviously I care about how much money I make, but that's not the target that I set for myself. Next up, I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen this, is plastered all over the industry. Is it true that 90% of traders lose money and never profit? So I'm not 100% sure because I don't have the data, but I would say I wouldn't be surprised if this was true. But before you guys give up on trading, before you guys turn off this video, I do have a hypothesis on why this is the case. There's two things that we need to understand. Number one, trading is hard. But number two is more important, which is the entry barrier to trading is extremely low. Literally anyone on the streets, your mom, your dad can start trading today if they wanted to. Just fund their account, make their first trade on the same day. Which means that there are so many people out there who try and then fail because they realize that trading is hard and they didn't put in enough effort, they didn't put in enough time to learn how to trade. I think a good way to compare this is if we look at another profession, let's say surgeons, right? If tomorrow the government said anyone in Malaysia can perform surgery, you don't need any qualifications, just go to the operating room and perform surgery. If this was the case, then obviously the failure rate for surgeries will be extremely high because people don't know what they're doing, they're just trying their luck. But if you compare this to the real surgeons of today, the people who have years and years of learning, of experience, of qualifications, their success rate with surgeries are a lot higher. So to me, that stat of 90% of traders lose money, it's true, but it's only because so many people try without putting in the right amount of effort, the right amount of time, without being realistic with how difficult trading is. If, let's say, tomorrow the rules for trading changes, not anyone can trade, you have to do 5 years of studying, you have to do 1 year of training before you can start trading, then I would say the success rate will be a lot higher. So yes, most people fail, but it is definitely possible if you're serious about it. Now, a bit of a funny question. Someone's asking me, how does a typical day look like? Is every day a crazy day like what we see in those finance movies? The answer is no, not at all. Most days are boring. Most days are, either nothing is happening or, it's just a normal day. The markets are moving, we're still trading, we're still making profits, but nothing out of the ordinary. I would say this is 99% of the days. That's why we have football tables, ping pong tables at the office, because otherwise we would just be so bored, right? But there are also crazy days. I'll never forget 5th of August 2024. You guys can search it up last year. It was my first year of trading and the unwinding of the yen carry trade happened. So I woke up, I went to office just like any other day, and every Asian market was tanking. I was looking at the Nikkei, which is listed in Japan, and it was going for circuit breakers like -8%, then -12%, then -15%. It was a crazy day and everything was just moving so quickly. I've never seen anything like that in my life as a trader, and the adrenaline in the office was just through the roof. I've never felt that way in any of my jobs previously. Those were just boring to me. But honestly, that was a really fun experience. I've never had it. It was really fun, but maybe I only say this because I did quite well trading that day. If I lost a lot of money, if things didn't go well, then maybe I would be telling you guys a different story right now. But yeah, most of the times, 99% of the times, like I said, trading is not that exciting, nothing much is happening, nothing crazy is happening. 1% of the times it does, but those finance movies that we're watching, they make it seem like every single day is like that. But yeah, it's not. Next up, this one is also very interesting. Someone's asking me which one's more important, graph/technical analysis or fundamental analysis. So this will depend on your trading style, but from my experience at least, what most professionals will say is that they use a mix. They use a mix of both fundamental and technical analysis. I actually asked this exact question to one of the bosses of my trading firm. He gave me an answer. I really like the answer, so I'm just going to copy him. I'll just plagiarize and tell you guys what he said. So our trading ideas will come from fundamental factors, but our trading execution will depend on technical analysis or technical indicators, charting basically. So what will happen is, let's say I look at some MPOB data of palm oil supply, right? And I think palm oil prices are going to go up, FCPO is going to go up over the next few months. So I have this idea in my head that I want to be long. But instead of just buying the contract today and then just hoping and praying that it works out for me, what we will then do is we will use a bit of technical analysis, very, very basic charting tools, for me at least, to help us determine things like our entry, our profit target, and our stop loss. So yeah, that's how we use a mix of both fundamental and technical analysis. To me, both are important, and I found that this is the best approach to trading. Final question that I'll be answering today is, what is the most challenging aspect of this career in the first 6 months and how did you overcome it? So there were many, many challenges when it comes to trading, but to me, the most difficult one is learning to accept and getting over the fact that in trading, we will and we can lose money. Hopefully not forever. Hopefully you're not going to be like forever, unprofitable, because then maybe you need to rethink your career. But there will be losing trades. There will be, periods of time where you're just not making money. The thing is, there are not many jobs out there aside from people who are business owners that have a similar income structure to traders. The most similar one that I can think of are salespeople who are working based off commission. So, when times are good, they're making a lot of money, but when times are bad, they can't sell their product, then they won't make so much commissions, right? But the thing is, those guys, some of them still have their basic salary. They cannot lose money. Whereas us as traders, it's not just that we're not making money, we're also losing money. So at the start, this made it extremely difficult for me to, execute certain trades. I would make a few hundred ringgit and then take one trade and lose the entire thing, right? So it made it very difficult for me to accept this because, in other jobs, like I said, I don't lose money, I just make money. So yeah, this one was very hard for me to sort of get past, but eventually I realized that for me to become a successful trader, I had to overcome it. I think everyone has to overcome it, otherwise I would say you're not going to make it. So what I did was I just kept on executing, even though I was nervous, even though my hand was shaking when I was trying to click buy or sell. But I did it because I realized that, like I said, I had to. And what I realized also eventually was that after we recover from our first big drawdown, from our first period of many, many losses, after we recover, it will give us a lot of confidence, because the next time it happens, we'll know that, yeah, it's painful, yeah, I shouldn't have made X mistakes, but at least I know that I recovered from before, so I can do it again. I'm not gonna lie, these periods, it can be very stressful. Sometimes, you go out with friends and they're all just laughing, hee hee, ha ha, and in the back of my mind, I'm thinking like, this position I'm down like thousands of ringgit on. It's not fun, but I've accepted the fact and I still think trading is what I want to do long term. I know it's not for everyone, but for those of you guys who really enjoy it, I don't think anything else can replace it. Anyway, I hope you guys found this video interesting and I hope it helped some of you guys on your trading journey. Like I said, if any of you want to be full-time traders, if you want to explore trading as a professional, then I highly encourage you guys to apply for the 4th intake of FTAP. The last day to apply will be the 13th of April 2025. Link will be right below. Thanks for watching this video to the end, guys. Give it a huge thumbs up if you enjoyed it and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. See you guys in the next one. Peace out.